This is the SpongeBob Magic Box. Was it really magic, or was it just an empty box? Let's find out.
Let's go for it!
So, this box appears in the episode Idiot Box. It starts with SpongeBob and Patrick anxiously awaiting for the arrival of a giant package. Squidward thinks they've ordered something unthinkably stupid, like usual, like a lifetime supply of bubble soap.
Probably ordered a lifetime supply of bubble soap.
But he could not be more wrong. Actually, they've ordered a giant TV. Probably the biggest one in all of Bikini Bottom, honestly. Squidward can't believe they bought something so huge, but being SpongeBob and Patrick, they throw it away almost instantly. Because of course, they just wanted the box. Honestly, I just grab the TV while they're distracted and try to get on with my life in 8K HD Netflix binge sessions, but I guess Squidward is just different. Anyways, Squidward decides to confront the pair and question their intelligence for spending what must be at least a year's worth of SpongeBob's salary on a giant TV they didn't want. But SpongeBob and Patrick don't care about the TV because they have their imagination. In SpongeBob's mind, the box can transport them to pretty much any time, period, or fantasy that they can conjure up in their head. I mean, Patrick could even be a starfish. Patrick, you're already a starfish. Alright, the box can do a lot of stuff, but it can't turn Patrick into a genius. Anyway, Squidward knows this whole thing will be stupid and decides to do exactly what I would and ask for the TV rather than letting it go to waste. So while Squidward pushes the TV into his house, SpongeBob and Patrick decide they're going to go on an epic mountain adventure. Also, just pay attention to the size of the box compared to them because I'm gonna come back to that later. So, Squidward starts pushing the TV toward his house, but he stops when he hears the sound of metal chains from the inside of the box.
I hope they put some air holes in that box.
SpongeBob pleading with Patrick not to go so high. But Patrick is feeling super brave and says, "I'll take it easy when I'm dead." But as soon as Squidward gets into his house, he realizes he forgot the remote that, works the TV, and he has to go and get it from beside the box. And by the way, when he gets the remote, he just kind of pushes it into his shirt, which is weird. Like, I know he has no pants, but surely the remote would just drop out of the bottom. It kind of seems to me like Squidward should invest in some pants. Anyway, Squidward hears SpongeBob and Patrick's adventure from inside the box, and it sounds insane. The sounds of chains are still clinking, but there's an echo as if they're inside a cave, and SpongeBob screaming at Patrick to keep his voice down to prevent an avalanche. And then Squidward gets an urge that he just can't seem to ignore. So he kicks the box.
Shut up!
And that's where this episode takes a pretty weird turn. As soon as the box comes back to Earth, Squidward hears the sound of a huge avalanche and SpongeBob and Patrick screaming, like really screaming. And once the avalanche stops, all you hear is SpongeBob and Patrick crying. If you didn't have the SpongeBob visuals and only had the audio, you might actually be kind of disturbed by it. Anyway, Squidward gets concerned and touches the box to check on SpongeBob, but as soon as he touches the box, another avalanche kicks up, prompting more screaming and an even bigger crisis. So now all Squidward can hear is SpongeBob and Patrick in huge amounts of pain in the box talking about how Patrick's limbs are frozen solid and SpongeBob is going to have to cut them off with a saw.
My legs are frozen solid. You'll have to cut them off with a saw.
Which is kind of crazy to put into a kid's cartoon, but then SpongeBob says he already cut his own arms off, which is intense.
No, Patrick, I can't do that.
Why not?
Because I already cut off my own arm.
But here's where it gets really weird, because when Squidward opens the box, he finds that they're just in a box with all of their own limbs. Now, so far, it's all been pretty typical SpongeBob weirdness, but this is where I start to think there might be something more to the box, because the level of the sounds is so intense that it's impossible to believe that it could just come from the two of them. And Squidward starts to think that too. Just as he starts to leave, he hears the sound of a helicopter and ducks, only to realize it's coming from the box. But when he checks again, it's still just SpongeBob and Patrick who insist that all of it is coming from their imagination. So, is he just making all of it up and hearing stuff, or are they actually making noise and trying to trick him into believing that it's just them? Well, Squidward goes back to his house and tries to recreate it with his own tiny box, but it just isn't the same. He just kind of sits there like a sad-looking, goofy goober with a hat. The fact that Squidward can't actually get the same result as SpongeBob and Patrick makes me think that the box they have is more magical, like it's an actual teleportation device that can take them anywhere in the world and let them have adventures without actually getting hurt.
Welcome to the future.
And the fact that Squidward just can't make it happen in the same way is super frustrating to him. So he takes his box outside and dumps it, which just excites SpongeBob and Patrick more because they have another magical box. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see about that. But while SpongeBob and Patrick keep playing with their boxes, Squidward tries to take his mind off the whole thing by watching his new TV, which honestly looks like it's half the size of his house. But everything on TV is about boxes, or boxing, or box gift giving. And it seems like the world is conspiring to make him extremely jealous of a cardboard box. Anyway, his me time is disrupted by the sounds of SpongeBob and Patrick launching a spaceship inside their box, which is what convinces him something is going on beyond just imagination. I mean, the voice that blares the blast-off announcement doesn't even sound like SpongeBob or Patrick.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
So at this point, I don't blame the guy for coming to the conclusion that they're gaslighting him. When he goes outside, he sees that this is, again, SpongeBob and Patrick somehow conjuring up the real sounds. So by this point, they've been to a mountain.
Let's play mountain climbing adventure.
And staged an extremely real-sounding avalanche. And somehow made a pitch-perfect impression of a countdown and space launch.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
And I'm pretty convinced that it's a time machine at this point. But Squidward isn't. So he storms out there and demands to find the tape recorder he believes they're using to make this kind of hyper-realistic noises. But they insist they don't have anything. So he finally gives in and climbs into the box, demanding that they show him how they're doing all of this imaginary stuff by taking him to Robot Pirate Island, so Squidward can experience an epic battle. But then, Squidward just sits and watches as the two of them close their eyes and start saying really stereotypical pirate and robot phrases.
Ahoy, matey.
Beep beep.
It sounds nothing like it did on the outside of the box, which is honestly weird, and it really doesn't help their case. But also, look how big this box looks inside.
You think they're just cartoons, bright colors, silly jokes, harmless adventures. But what if that's only the surface? What if something darker is hiding behind the laughter? Abandoned cities beneath the ocean, where the sky isn't made of clouds at all. Radiation that created strange beings who believe they're normal. Families living in a world that already ended, pretending everything is fine. Every episode isn't just a story, it's a clue, a trace of catastrophe, a world after the apocalypse, carefully disguised as childhood nostalgia. The signs were always there. The background, the silence, and the details no one questioned. Are you ready to see what was hidden in plain sight? Welcome to the theories that change your childhood forever. Subscribe if you're ready to see the truth.
It was not this big outside. It barely came up to Squidward's waist, but now that he's sitting down, the box is significantly higher than his head, to the point that the top of the box isn't even in the frame. And if we go back a minute, remember when Squidward looked into the box and you saw Patrick's head poking out of the same box that Squidward himself couldn't fit into? This seems to be happening a lot. I mean, there's a pretty famous sci-fi show featuring a time travel ship that is bigger on the inside, and I don't know, it's kind of hard not to see the comparisons here. I mean, maybe SpongeBob and Patrick are actually time-traveling beings who just need a vessel to take them where they have to go, and Squidward doesn't have that gift.
All right, fine. Take me to Robot Pirate Island.
Anyway, when Squidward finds that he can't imagine the same level of detail as SpongeBob and Patrick, he leaves the box. But as soon as he steps outside, he hears the wild sounds of an epic robot pirate battle happening inside, and he becomes convinced that they're hiding some kind of a sound machine inside, because how could they possibly be able to make 6 sounds at once? I mean, these two can barely focus on one thing at a time, but whatever. So later, Squidward waits until SpongeBob and Patrick have gone to bed to sneak into the box and find the noise device, but he can't find anything, and he slowly starts to realize that the two of them must have just imagined it all. But that doesn't even make sense, because what you imagine can't be heard by other people, and there's just no physical way that they were able to generate all of those noises with their mouths. So Squidward mocks them and their stupid imagination, choosing to pretend he's a race car driver.
Really believe that if I sit here and pretend to drive a race car,
But then he actually gets into it. He feels the rush and hears the sounds, and it all starts to feel super real.
I can't believe it.
And I really felt happy for Squidward at this moment. He finally got to experience the joy that SpongeBob and Patrick felt without any judgment. But then you find out that he's actually just in a box that's being driven to the dump, and, well, we're back to Squidward's terrible luck again. The next morning, SpongeBob and Patrick find that the box is missing, so they plan to spend the day with Squidward, hoping he isn't down in the dumps today. And that's the episode. I actually love this episode. It's one of my favorite SpongeBob episodes of all time, even if there are so many parts that make basically no sense. But there's something so pure about SpongeBob and Patrick having a total blast in a box, and the thought that they might not actually be imagining it at all is so interesting to me. And honestly, the episodes where Squidward has some kind of psychological meltdown are usually the best. Look, this is easily one of the greatest episodes of SpongeBob ever, and it just makes me want to get into a box and see where I go. Probably the dump. But I don't know, man. I just like cartoons.